important motion. My name is Asuko Ekpenyong, Senator representing Cross River South. Mr. President, before I go into the substantive part of this motion, I would like to state here, for the avoidance of doubt and for clarity, that from what I have gathered in this chamber today, what I have canvassed from all senators here, this Senate is one and is one-sided on this issue of insecurity. All 109 members of this Senate are on the same side, irrespective of tribe, religion, ethnicity, party, state of origin. And this Senate is committed to resolving this insecurity that has plagued this nation for over a decade. Mr. President, on to the substantive matter, the motion from Senator Ashiru. He mentioned various things during his motion, but three things stood out. One was when he selected or pointed out the local vigilante to commend them. Distinguished colleagues, security enforcement is most partly about intelligence gathering. Gathering of intelligence, analysis of intelligence, and disseminating this very intelligence. The local vigilantes are the grassroots. They live amongst the people, they dwell amongst the people. They live in rural areas and in forest communities, hunters, etc., farmers. We must find a way to integrate these local vigilantes into our security operations for communication and for effective networking. Number two, Your Excellency and distinguished colleagues, this has been addressed, but I feel it is extremely important and cannot be addressed enough. We as a Senate must identify and communicate to the people that elected us to be their voice. That part of the report that states that military personnel were withdrawn from that school in Kebbi, we must identify who gave the command and why, and that must be made public to the Nigerian people. Finally, and also as important, just like the last speaker mentioned, there is need, as Senator Ashiru alluded to review the Nigerian firearm law. We must get back to our people who elected us to represent them and find out their feelings on this. Distinguished colleagues, every man deserves the right to protect and defend his life and that of his family. And bringing a knife to a gunfight can never be a fair fight. We must discuss this, we must get back to our people. Mr. President, these are the three observations I would like to lay here. I rest my case. Thank you, sir.
Senator, my distinguished colleagues, I think it is an hour of truth now. We have to tell ourselves the truth. We will tell Mr. President the truth so that we are not going to be consumed, all. The questions are so many, but few will be asked. These bandits, who are they? Are they really Nigerians? Then where are they operating? Within Nigeria. What of their captors, particularly the hostages? They are here in Nigeria. Then we are now talking of technology. Which technology? As a nation, we have a nation with full military power. That's what we call Nigeria, which all of us belong to. Then some tortured, wretched boys are now holding us to ransom, and we are celebrating them. During the last regime, our former president is here now. We nearly impeached the president. But this president has spent a lot of his time and fund on this military. But the same military refuses to yield, to even perform. And we are now owing a lot to our people. The military architecture, I retired at an equivalent of a lieutenant general in the service. The military, that is the soldiers, That's the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. They don't take any other apart from the Commander-in-Chief or anybody that is representing them of higher caliber. That is a general. That military architecture around Mr. President is what is affecting the command structure of what is happening today. The minister is not a soldier, a retired general. The minister of state, all of them are businessmen. The NSA is a retired policeman. And do you know what the soldiers call us? There's a soldier here retired. I think he has gone. They call us bloody civilians. These soldiers, they call people like us who are carrying the same gun, even superior gun than them. They call us bloody civilians. They don't regard us. And that is what is affecting us on ground there now. The CEC needs to look at its military architectural design around him and do the needful. If not, we will continue to waste money. Because they will not take order from any other person other than their own general. We are almost in military rule and we are at war. He should stand as he's a commander-in-chief because he listens and is spending on them. That is what can really solve the problem. Today, almost 120-something countries have already legalized carrying arms by sane and respectable people. I think it is time for Nigeria to allow us to be carrying arms. If not, these boys, you see them, you will just be vomiting. In the church, where this man is discussing with us, was discussing with us, these are small boys carrying guns. If all of us, particularly the elite, and few of us who are okay, are carrying guns, it is war against war. These boys will run away because there are not too many. It is time for us to stand and make a law that it is criminal for the negotiator, because the negotiators are even eating deep into what is happening today. Where is the bank where they normally withdraw such huge of money to settle them, including the banks, including the negotiator and the kidnappers? They are all criminals and they should face death penalty. I submit, sir.
And I represent Bauchi, Central of Bauchi State. Mr. President, this is not an interesting time in this country. And Mr. President, for those who follow social media, particularly the Senate Forum, when Onanuga, the president's spokesman, wrote that the president has canceled his trip to South Africa and Angola, I was the very first person to forward that to our forum, to our platform, and went ahead to say, this is the right thing and the proper thing, and therefore is commendable. I'm not an APC man. Mr. President, at times like this, moments like this, when you honestly see very clear design by some foreign powers to take over the affairs of this country, if you're a Nigerian, and a decent Nigerian, and a patriotic Nigerian, and you think that does not matter, I think you need to question your patriotism. You need to question your citizenship. Mr. President, at this point in time, what we require is a collective concern. This is not a military regime. This is a democratic regime where in the military you say the bucks stop on the table of the president. This is democracy. The buck stop not only on the office and the desk of the president, the bucks also stopped on the table of the Senate president at the head of legislature. Now, following from what Sani Musa said, you see parliamentarians, the apex lawmaking body in Nigeria is the Senate. And Mr. President, you see us asking ourselves, looking for possible answers. Mr. President, the standing committees were not created for ceremonies. The standing committees were created to answer some of the questions arising from what senators are asking. Mr. President, we cannot sit here and security questions were raised as to what happened in Kebbi. Why did it happen? Who are we asking? Don't you have Army Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Navy Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Defense Committee? Who are we asking? Don't you have Security Committee? Mr. President, it is abnormal. And for me to sit here and begin to see my colleagues raising questions that we are the ones to provide answers for. Mr. President, just one president, elected there and the vice president. We are all elected. We are all accountable to the people. Just like Mr. President is elected, we are also elected. And we are also accountable to our constituents. But Mr. President, we need to rejig how we do things. We need to tell ourselves the home truth. Mr. President, it's just like a mirror. You put a mirror in your front, you see yourself, breaking the mirror will not change that image. No matter how you do, what you see is what you get. What you are is what you get. Mr. President, we need to be proactive, and we need to come with a very clear perspective how to deal with these issues. Mr. President, you and me discussed yesterday that the widow of late Uba said nobody talked to her after her husband was gunned down. Nobody has communicated to her. Who are we going to ask to ask? Are we going to tell the president to call commander-in-chief to ask? Or are we not having committee of the army here that will call the people? Look at this interview by Mrs. Uba, Musa Uba. What did you do and what did you not do? We learned from Governor of Kebbi State that officers were withdrawn. And we lament. Are we not having standing committees that are supposed to call these people? What did you do? And we keep passing the ball from Maradona to Pele. It is not going to work for us. Mr. President, just yesterday, 5 police officers, 3 of whom I know personally, were called broadly murdered in my constituency. What was the fault? They went to separate a fight between bandits and farmers. And these gentlemen were called brutally murdered. Mr. President, by your leave, I will have the honor to call the names of these officers. They were so brutally killed, not in the night. Not in the night. Broad day. They were summarily murdered because they were not carrying Spiro weapons. Only one of them was carrying AK-17. The other was carrying a Vision. AK-47. AK-47. Only one of them, the DSP. And the names of these officers, I will call their names. This is the reality of Nigeria. DSP Ahmed Mohammed, killed. Assistant Superintendent Mustafa Mohammed, killed. Inspector Amahil Yunusa, killed. Inspector Idris Ahmad, killed. Corporal Isa Muazu, killed. in my constituency, local government Darazo. Mr. President, you can imagine the agony that these families are undergoing. Mr. President, in the time past, we're having some of the best military formations, military officers. We're having some of the best police officers and police formation all across the globe. In fact, at a particular time, Major General Agwai got an outstanding honor as one of the best serving generals in Africa. And today, Mr. President, did you ask yourself whether the Agwais and the Dambados of those years and several, the Njumas, several of them that are still alive, whether anybody has called these officers to say, please, gentlemen, where did we miss it? Why were we the very best military country in Africa? Why were we the best police country in Africa? And why are we here? So it is a collective endeavor, Mr. President, and as long as we continue to see kidnapping as just a crime, we're not going anywhere, because kidnapping has so much been commercialized. People are leaving their jobs in cities and villages, and kidnapping now is one of the best paying jobs in Nigeria, all across. In fact, kidnapping now pays more than oil. Kidnapping pays more than sitting as a senator or sitting in the villa. And therefore, as lawmakers, what do we need to do? We now look at kidnapping and say we must amend our laws to say kidnapping is a terrorist act and must therefore be treated as such and must therefore carry the death penalty. And that is some of the ways we have to go. Mr. President, the entire security architecture of our country we need just to sit down. It is not about talking in plenary here. It is not talking about one committee or the other. We must be able to find out. It's not about just national security. Every committee that needs to answer his name must answer his name here in plenary or in an executive session. And therefore, going forward, most of the questions arising from our colleagues is not to the president, it's to ourselves. And therefore, the Senate Leader Office, with the understanding of the SP, must find a way in a situation like this, before we even peruse to the matter in details, we need to raise the chairman of committees to give us a synopsis of what they do, how they do it, and then following from that, then we can give our opinion, our recommendation, the way forward, the way this. But if every day we come here and we do some of these things that we only do it probably to appease our constituents, but the matter is not solved. Appeasing our constituency is just secondary. Getting peace is primary. People want to turn our country upside down, and we are looking at it as a joke, day in, day out. A parliamentarian in Congress will make a whole contingent of federal government go there. Member of Congress, that is an equal of number of house. One person.
Member of a subcommittee.
Did you elect Trump? Did you elect him? The answer is no. As they are doing, we must also do. We are here because people elected us. And we are not answerable to any member of Congress, and we should not. But we can partner. We can partner. If they want to hear from us, They should hear from us. If we want to hear from them, we can hear from them. I've been to the Congress 3 times. I've been to UK Parliament 3 times, all on equal pedestal. Therefore, we must know our honor, our dignity. People will think that we have no standing. We have standing. We are the largest country in Africa and the biggest black nation on the face of this, and therefore, leadership must be provided. Let's just look inward. Let's put our acts together, and then we dare any outside power. But we have to put our acts together. Where the leadership comes begging, we must make it right. Where they need to be commended, we must commend them. The Nigerian people we must inspire them to believe what we are saying. Every day we talk like this, we talk like this. You go to the media, you go to the press, it's all talk. And that is true. But we need to change these things. Mr. President, I pray that in one of the prayers, we'll give a 1-minute silence on behalf of these murdered police officers. I so submit.
Senator Dube. I noticed, Mr. President, that what is lacking is not the political will from Mr. President. What is lacking is operational capacity and strategies. Within my senatorial district, which has become the epicenter of the crisis in Benue State, soldiers are deployed. In my local government of Gwe West, we have enough soldiers on ground. But as I cried here one time, the manner of posting is the issue. Soldiers are kept along the major road from Makudi to Naka, while the hinterland is left open. And they only react when there is an attack. The bandits are there. The military know that they are there. It's not as if they are not aware. These are human beings. They are not invincible. They have driven away my constituents and they are living in their own villages and in their own houses. So, what is stopping the military from pushing them out? So, there is an operational laxity on the part of the military. So, that has to be addressed. I commend them. Yes, they are human beings. There may be some logistical challenges. But I think Mr. President has done so much in deploying. There are no soldiers in Wales, for example. There are about 5 military checkpoints, but they are all on the road. So what happens? So in one of our resolutions here, we should at least provide a line to encourage the military to be proactive and not reactionary in dealing with this situation. That will be my comment for now. I thank you very much.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibrin, representing the very good people of Kogi East. Your Excellency, I have listened attentively to the comments by my colleagues, and I appreciate them all. But I want to dwell briefly on the issue of confidentiality of the plans and strategies by the military. The military should be silent on their plans and strategies. What is happening between the bandits and the military is akin to games theory. In a games theory, the parties involved want to outdo the other. And the easiest way they can outdo you is to know your secret. I want to believe that there is a need for the military to be as silent as possible on their strategies and plans. Mr. President, I will give you an example. A few days ago, we were made to understand that some of the forests that are hiding, that where these criminals are hiding, are going to be cordoned off. And the implication of that is that they will strategize. All we should have done is to go into the implementation without making the pronouncement in the public domain. Your Excellency, on this note, I want to appeal the Chief of Defense Staff, the service chiefs, to be as silent as possible on their strategies. All we want is actions. I thank you.
Excellency, I stand up to lend my voice on this motion of urgent national importance raised by Senator Lola Shiru, who happens to be my colleague senator from Kwara State. We thought it was a Kwara issue, but unknown to us, injury to one is injury to all. And in security issues like this, if we isolate ourselves, we say, it does not affect me, it's my neighbor, it will gradually escalate to your doorstep one day. I want to, first and foremost, let this hallowed chamber know that the event of the last 2-3 weeks is a thing of sad reflection on every one of us. It has no tribe, no religion, no party, no state coloration. It is a thing that all of us must have a sad reflection towards. But as God will have it, through the intervention and collaboration of the federal and the state government, we were able to start seeing a thing of joy as a day before yesterday, when the release of the kidnapped worshippers in Kwara, followed by that of Kebbi now. What I must say here is, in hostage negotiation, the first thing you do is to get the release of whoever that hostage is. After then, you can now address other means of apprehending and also bringing the culprits to pay for their injustice. I want to also use the opportunity to commend the federal government and the state governments in being very proactive in at least bringing some form of happiness to these recent victims. We will not say that's the end of the sad event taking place in our country now. We must urge for proactiveness from all sides of the divide. And this further brings us to the issue of enhancing our military and the security agencies. It is time for this hallowed chamber to put a very strong voice to probably once and for all passing a death penalty on anybody involved or associated with kidnapping. Because, Your Excellency, as governor of Akwa Ibom State, I know one of the deterrents you passed then was death penalty for kidnappers. I think this hallowed chamber must come very strongly on that now, such that we must bring a very strong deterrent to people involved in kidnapping or associated with anything that has to do with kidnapping. And we must also look inward to start giving incentives to our gallant men and women of the security agencies. Because if you look at it, there's a growing trend now, sir. The younger generation are beginning to have less interest in joining the armed forces. And if a nation that the younger generation are no longer interested in joining the security agencies or the armed forces, then who is going to protect us for tomorrow? So I will also urge, when we are considering other prayers, we should look at suggestions that will bring incentives to the men and women of the armed forces. Like in advanced countries like America, you will see young ones rushing to join the military. When you ask why, they will tell you one of the incentives they enjoy is free scholarship for them to study from their first degree to even their PhD degree. So we should start looking at incentives like that in our armed forces, and also to make sure that those who are culpable of these dastardly acts are brought into proper justice, for justice to reprimand them properly. So I want to thank everybody who has contributed in this motion of national urgent importance on the kidnap of, especially the recent Eruku people, Kebbi and Niger. Thank you all.
It's one of the sources of fundraising for bandits. Because all the monies they normally get from kidnapping is to finance or buy weapons to come back as bandits. Then, sir, we are concerned about buying equipment. As much as we have equipment, and a large number of our youths are unemployed, they will be the one that will ridicule the usage of the equipment. But if we sweep numerous numbers of the youths and get them engaged, employed as police, sir, the ratio of Nigeria to civilian ratio is 1 to 700. One policeman to 700 people. Most of our villages are empty. There is nobody around for you to really feel secured. We're thinking of a vigilante. The vigilantes, at the end of the day, they remain like beggars. Because they don't have salaries, they don't have source of funding. If we will rely on vigilante and not paid pensionable security, we will not get a solution, sir. My wish is that in as much as we are going to spend on equipment, we must sweep our youths and engage them as security. It will take away those that will volunteer to do this job. I believe that unemployment is another critical part. I believe also that kidnapping is another way of raising funds for bandits. I want to, as a representative of Plateau Central, I want to thank the president for one thing, sir. This is the first time that when we are affected by these ruthless bandits, this is the first time that we see government presence condoling with us. We lost a first-class chief some times ago. Nobody came. Up to date, we have traditional rulers that are kidnapped. Nobody comes around. But this time, at this session of this regime, we have received sufficient empathy. I believe that if government will have empathy on victims, it will help to create hope in the minds of our people. I thank you.